Get the inside track on 20 top business trends for 2020 from Joel Block. Joel's insights bring Wall Street to your street so you can profit from the inside in 2020. Just text the word TREND to 72000. That's 72000 and download your free copy today. Grab your phone and get the inside track on business trends that affect you and your business. Just text the word TREND to 72000 for your copy now. This is Profit from the Inside with Joel Block. Insights to give your business the inside track. And now, here's your host, Joel Block.
Would you like to engage your current customers better, attract new customers, build and enhance your brand in ways that you have never been able to do it before? All using the Amazon Alexa, a new technology that hasn't really been utilized in a reasonable and great way. To share that information, tell us how. Dougdevitre, how are you, Doug?
Good, Joel. Thanks for letting me be a part of your program.
Well, I heard you talk about Amazon Alexa a couple months ago, and I was so fascinated by it. And I just wanted you to share some stuff with our listeners because I thought that you did an awesome job. And I have to tell you, I've heard you speak before. You're not a humorist, you're not one of those comical type guys, but you kind of did this ventriloquism thing where Alexa was the dummy and you were the puppeteer and you had Alexa making fun of you. I just thought it was the funniest little thing I've ever seen. I'm thinking, I really want to do that one of these times, and I haven't done it, but I thought it was awesome. So tell us about what's up in the whole Alexa space, the new emerging technology.
Well, Joel, I genuinely appreciate your curiosity because this is really a new way of being able to communicate and express ideas and influence others that, when they say we're creating the future, like we're building it now with just different things by asking a powerful question, right? And so as brands start to adopt Amazon Alexa into their internal communication strategy for, existing team members or employees or it's externally with customers, we as like organizations can tap into, I guess now it's over 100 million devices sold that integrate Amazon Alexa. And so you're talking from anywhere from just the devices themselves to TV, where you actually plug into the TVs, to where it's integrated into your headphones and it's integrated into your car. It's now like
slow down a little bit, okay? Because there's a lot of basics here that we're kind of jumping over. First of all, you said there's a basic question. What's the basic question?
Well, so the question comes from an impact standpoint, right? So this isn't so much technology, but, we always ask the question, what one question could we ask would create the biggest impact across a variety of different, key outcomes? And so, if you are, let's say, a real estate company, one thing you want to do is attract new customers, right? Another thing you want to do is recruit new agents. And then you also want to be able to retain them. And you would do that traditionally through face-to-face interaction. You would do that through email that you would send out. And then now with Alexa, we can now program experiences that really kind of tie into the core value propositions that companies and institutions have already invested in.
So the question is, how are we going to apply this new technology to existing activities that we're already doing, right? I mean, that's kind of the deal. And the new technology is voice and audio through something like Amazon Alexa. Now, Amazon's not the only one that has it. I know Google has a thing. I mean, when you go to Costco, they sell these Google pods that look just like the Amazon Echoes. I mean, what's the difference between these companies? Are there big differences?
So what you're looking at is platform, right? Just like you're going to look at, am I looking at an iOS device or am I looking at an Android device? And there's different developers that you need for different operating systems. And, when you look at voice, like you said, there's Amazon Alexa, there's Google Assistant, there's Microsoft Cortana, there's Samsung Bixby, there's Apple Siri, and the list goes on as others are who knows if Facebook's about ready to jump in and grab some of that territory too. So when we look at it right now, like which is the most natural platform to gravitate towards, well, if you're looking for the highest adoption, well, let's start with Alexa, and then if that works really well, then we'll add on other platforms that we deem appropriate.
So what we're really talking about when we talk about voice, talk about audio, I mean, there are lots of applications for this already, like our phones. I dictate most of my text messages because I'm not a good typer. I use like one finger. I'm not too good at that. So I talk it in, and Siri talks back to us. And so we're already starting to kind of get used to some of these activities. So what are we really talking about? What's the next level look like? I mean, we're all kind of doing a little, but what does it look like?
Well, in terms of common tasks that you would do on a regular basis, one thing that Alexa is good about is reminding folks and also holding folks accountable for what they do. Now, like I'll give you an example, and it's not even Alexa related. Like when I'm running with my iPhone and I'm using the Map My Run app, like there's a little notification that goes through my headphones that says, "Hey, speed up, you're not going fast enough." Now that audio reminder is tied into the app, just no different than Alexa would be, that Alexa would be telling you, "Hey, speed up," or "This is something that you need to do," because we have data with you using the customer, using your shared permissions, and that could be as simple as first name, last name, mobile telephone number, shipping address that's tied into your Amazon customer profile. So if you're going to ship or you're going to do e-commerce, there's those options that you can explore. So there's so many different ways you can go, but really, like, I think where, like, if you're just getting started is find one use case that you see your customers using the most, and then start to build off of that. And then there are many examples on, like, if you're gonna go with the Alexa platform, that are already successful. They already have a high number of reviews. It's being shared on social media, and there's videos, and there's awards too that are given for some of these experiences. So don't feel like you're kind of starting off from scratch. There's already many proven templates that have been successful.
Well, we'll get to those skills in a little bit, because first we kind of have to get what the big picture is. I remember in the 1980s, you were probably just a wee little thing at that time, but in the 1980s, I was at Price Waterhouse, and the killer app that made PCs actually take off and become something was Lotus 123, which became Excel over time. And every accounting firm, every business was able to do some accounting and mathematical work using that. And I remember the company telling me, Joel, go in that closet and don't come out till you know how to use this program. And I just sat there and I just practiced, and I put my checkbook in there, and I just did all kind of different things. And so Lotus 123 was the killer app that made computers actually, it wasn't word processing. It was absolutely, the spreadsheet and the ability for companies to do mathematical computations, that they needed to do. And then they started buying more computers. Price computers came down. What's the killer app going to be for Alexa? Do we already know, or is it shopping, or what's it going to be?
Well, I think different organizations have different ways that they measure what they feel to be the killer app, right? One would be based upon, brand awareness and reach. Another one would be revenue. Look, if this isn't tied to revenue, then this isn't going to be a big win for us. Or maybe others might say, we're trying to win an industry award here, and then, whoever wins the Alexa Grand Prize Award, we consider that to be, a successful Alexa app.
Every time you say her name, she lights up over there in the corner, and she like barks something like, "Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?" So I keep hearing this from the side there over there. But I wonder what the real application is going to be, where everybody catches on and says, "I got to have one of those things." I'll tell you, for example, my son, he walks in his apartment and says, "Alexa, turn on all the lights." Well, she's lighting up, trying to turn on all the lights, or turn on the music, or whatever he tells it to do. So people are using these things in lots of different ways. They're buying things, they're shopping. But are these things just gimmick things right now, or is it really going to turn serious?
This is the same question we asked that I remember very vividly about 10 years ago. And that was, it was social media waste of time. Right. And I, and I had to follow all the old school gurus who said, social media is a waste of time. And, now they're the ones who are teaching social media. So
that's because they're professional gurus. They got to go with the flow.
So, there's going to be all kinds of resistance, right? And then you look at adoption rate for Amazon and Alexa. Like their goal is to increase the number of users so that they have, they can generate more revenue through the platform, right? And then anybody who understands like channel partnerships and understands Amazon as a channel partner, and we can knowing that the trend is here, right? Like there's no if or should we. It's like the trend is here, so we should be over that by now. The question now is like how. And so for a brand or a company to look at the how, they have to look at the adoption. Increasing the adoption rate within a useful experience, right? If it's not a useful experience, people are going to hate it. They're not going to use it. They're not going to tell their friends about it. And then you have a sunk cost that you now have to realize and say, okay, maybe we missed the mark here. Maybe we should try something a little bit different next time.
Well, you already said the magic number. You said there's 100 million devices. If there's 100 million devices, this is not a fake thing.
No, it's like
not a fad. This is real and it's happening. If there's 100 million of them out there, it's happening. So the question is, what are we going to do? And I know this is what I want to get to, because this is where you're an expert. Is what do we do with the thing to make more money? How do we really connect it to sales, profits?
Yeah. Okay.
You talk about brand enhancement, engagement. How do you do it?
So this is a real tricky question. I think it depends on what your product type is, or if it's a service type, and also the size of the transaction, right? If it's a low size transaction and you're looking at selling things, like selling products through it, there's a low risk to transaction when there's a low amount associated with it, right? But if you're selling high ticket items, you want to look at using Alexa as a lead generation strategy, where you repurpose some of the content you already have. So you put your podcast on there. Maybe you have some sort of widget that books an appointment, on your calendar. Maybe you have some sort of content campaign that's sequenced that collects information from customers as they speak to it, and then gives out real-time recommendations based off of, your area of expertise. So like when you look at, I'll give you a perfect example here, like how complex this could be when people say, is this impossible? No, it's really not. Like if you look at the real estate transaction that has about 180 steps that are involved with, either buying or selling a home, a lot of those conversations, we say the same things over and over again, just with different people. So why not just write it out once of what the best script is, the dialogue would be, and then you could have Alexa kind of as your sidekick that's helping customers through the transaction, like you have been for years, home after home after home.
To help us understand, though, what does that actually look like? Is that Alexa saying, how much do you want to spend? And then the person says the amount. And then Alexa would say, what neighborhood do you want to be in? And the person says the answer. Is that how it works? I mean, or is it something different than that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and there's a sequence to this process, right? Like if you look at the steps of buying a home, like you want to get pre-approved before you start looking at homes, because you might be looking at wasting your time looking at homes you can't afford. So like, could you do that? Yes, but it's a waste of time. We always have to do things in logical order. So the good thing about Alexa is, like, if you're the skilled developer, right, and you type something out and Alexa says it must be true, right? Like kind of like websites. But at the same time, like you have online forms that collect information and then send it out. Well, the beauty of doing it through Alexa is it's happening instantaneously. Like it's happening like like bam, bam. Like instead of typing on the keyboard or tapping on the screen, I'm just talking to, the device or the computer screen that has, the visual interaction for you to see.
There are some real differences between interfacing with a website and interfacing with Alexa. Randy Gage was on the show a couple months ago, and it was just an extraordinary discussion that we had. And what he really articulated so brilliantly was that when you go on a website and you say, "Show me some cars," they'll show you 50 different cars, and you scroll through the cars you want. But with audio, that's not possible. With audio, they're going to give you 2 or 3 choices, pick one. So Amazon is going to control an awful lot of the decision making. And, you're going to have to reteach your customers, not just to say car, but to say luxury car or BMW car or, SUV car, or you're going to have to teach your people to be a lot more specific, because generics are not going to work in an audio world. Agree with that?
Yeah. So I do. And I think what we have to think about is like the term for this is called VUI, or voice as a user interface. Right. And so there's a lot of do's and don'ts and best practices in designing voice experiences. So like one of the best practices is don't create your Alexa skill like a phone tree, like a phone menu, like to give you different options. Instead of doing it that way, look at turning it into what they call a multi-turn conversation, right? So we're kind of like doing the dance, where I say hello, you say hi. I say, how are you? You say, great. How are you? And like we actually script that out ahead of time.
What if it's Alexa the smart aleck? None of your business.
well, look, the good thing about this is we can take whatever the tone of our brand is and put it in to Alexa to make the tone serious, to make it humorous. I don't know. I always try to make mine a little bit more playful, just because that's my personality. But others might not go that way. So as you create this experience, and keep in mind, there's like 12 different roles that are associated with creating this. This is not a job for one person, right? Just the skill in designing a voice user experience is completely different from the skill sets needed to develop or write the code to program the skill, right? Those are 2 different yin and yang that are necessary. And then you have when you start to add in the screen element, now somebody has to design that out from like a graphical design. And then you take that design into the code this for the devices that have that. They have to, it's the HTML for how the screen looks out, and there's the buttons that people can touch on. Like this, like I can go deeper in here, but you realize there needs to be a project manager that can facilitate the or the coordinate all of the different roles to progress this thing over time to something that's real and not just something.
Well, listen, here's my big takeaway from this is I know that you work with people kind of on a self-service basis. You help people learn how to develop skills. But my sense is that this is not a self-service business. What you just said was, don't develop it like a phone tree. Well, left to their own devices, the only thing that people understand are things like phone trees where there's some progression. But somebody, and we're not talking about a technician, you're technical, but you're a marketing guy. And so there's application that is different than just the technology, just the software programming. There's more to it than that.
Well, think about this in a different way, right? And this comes down from usability. And I learned a lot of this usability from the Nielsen Norman Group. They're a group out of California that's research-based user experience, right? And so they give the analogy of the coffee maker. Right now, you have one coffee maker that has all the bells and whistles and has 50 different buttons and sliders and modes and things like that. And it comes with this really fat booklet, right? And then there's the other coffee maker that has 3 buttons. Now, which one are you going to use on a more regular basis?
Well, I would prefer the one button, but I would buy the 3 button. Just with 2 buttons, I'm probably never going to use.
Good. So like good voice experiences, they don't need an instruction manual. You just start using them. And so this is where we need to
That's why I'm saying it's not really a self-service deal. I mean, it left to your own devices, you might create something that's completely complicated. That's why I'm telling you that guys like you really are going to be necessary in this process, especially in the very early stages, because if you get it wrong, people are going to get frustrated. You want to get this right up front, because you want to be one of the early, if you want to be one of the early adopters, you also have to be one of the early success stories.
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably agree there's a lot of crappy websites out there, right? Well, people can go on there for free and build a free website, but it's like there's a lot of more elements that are involved.
Yeah, listen, just because there are templates doesn't mean you end up with something that's any good. I mean, from a marketing point of view, you want to move somebody's eye from here to here to here to here. You want to have some logical progression, and templates don't necessarily do that. So, give us some examples of some skills that you've developed, and the programming in Amazon is called skills, right? That's what they are.
Yeah, good. So like Apple and Android have apps that you download to your phone. So for the Amazon Alexa platform, the apps are called skills, and you don't download the skill, you enable the skill, right? That's just the language you have to learn as part of this.
All right. So you enable these different skills. What skill? Give us an example of a couple skills that are available. Like there's a podcast skill, right?
It always comes back to the power of the question. The question was, well, how can I accumulate the most amount of experts who already have a podcast into one place, and people could search and find it based off of how we define the experience. And so that's the thought leader's Amazon Alexa skill, and we developed it using the screens in mind. And so like you've heard of HTML for websites.
Yes.
For voice, it's called APL, Alexa Presentation Language. And so if you have one of these, the Fire Cubes plugged into your flat screen TV, or you have the Echo Show devices that have the box screen, or they have the Echo Spots, it kind of looks like a hockey puck but has a screen. It's designed that you can use those screens really well. So that's out there. Another skill that was very popular was the 500 real estate terms on demand. So you think about, I need a dictionary of real estate terms. Alexa, what's a mortgage? What's a contingency? What's a settlement? What's an appraisal? When you enable the skill, you have access to that. So if there's ever a disagreement upon what the language is on anything, say, hey, Alexa, what is it? And then that's using knowledge that we already have in a conversational format to get what we want, to then remind us if we're right or wrong or we need to improve.
So let me understand something. So you just said you have to enable these skills. When I open the box and I plug in my Alexa, I got my thing sitting right over on the counter over there. You're saying that these things don't work automatically, that I have to do something to get them to work? I mean, it seems like Alexa would just do everything that I asked it to do.
You have an iPhone or Android?
Android.
Okay. Well, I don't know how that works, but I'm just going to speak on the iPhone. You have to follow me on this, right? So when I buy my iPhone, it came preloaded with apps, right? And I can't tell you specifically which ones they were, but it became preloaded, right? That's using Apple's platform. And then there's other apps that I had to go to the store to download, or I had to buy, or maybe even inside the ones I had to buy, there was an M-app purchase that then gave me access to more features. This is the same exact concept with Alexa. So there are skills that already come, or whatever Amazon has already put in the platform, just because of what users request and so forth. But then when you want to extend a different brand experience, or let's say you have two competing brands, right? And you have different skills, and you ask the same question, like who's gonna have the right answer? These are questions that brands are starting to figure out. Well, how do we battle inside of this little box that talks back to you?
Somehow we've all been dealing with these phones for 10 years, so I guess we kind of have gotten used to it. How do we get used to it with these new voice devices? In other words, how do I know which skills are available? How do I know? Because I can't see anything.
Yeah.
So
No, this is good. This is good. So what I'd recommend anybody do, even if you don't buy one of the Echo devices, is at least download the Amazon Alexa app to your phone. Right.
So all this stuff is, because I have that app on my phone.
Yeah, good.
And all this stuff is controlled by your phone?
Yeah, it's controlled through the app on your phone or through the web-based login, which is, I think, alexa.amazon.com.
Yeah.
And so that's where you control the list of all of the different skills that you've enabled. That's where you control your settings for your smart home. That's where you configure routines. And so a routine is something where at 5 a.m., you're going to get, let's say, a Bible verse and then play Gloria, on Spotify. And Alexa will do that at 5 a.m. and turn on all the lights like right then, because that's a routine.
So, I can imagine a lot of this stuff being really cool, that, the alarm goes off, the certain song that you like goes on, the lights turn on slowly in over 5 minutes or something. That I can imagine it could turn on your coffee pot. It could make the water warm in the shower so you're ready to go. I don't know, could do 20 different things for you. It's kind of a cool concept. Are there other devices that can do these things, or is Alexa the main one that's kind of going in that direction?
Well, I've just chosen that one to be the primary platform where I spend my time. But when you look at a couple different things, is if the platform doesn't allow integration, replace it, and if the app doesn't integrate, don't add it. Right. So that's kind of like a rule to help you decide. And I'll repeat it for you if you want. If the platform doesn't allow integration, replace it. So let's say my platform is a sophisticated web-based conference, and then I find Zoom, and Zoom integrates with everything. I'm going to replace with what I was using with Zoom because it integrates with everything.
Yeah.
Now, if there's an app that integrates with Zoom, or if it doesn't integrate with Zoom, I might say, well, I'm not going to add this app because it doesn't integrate with Zoom.
Yeah. For example, we have Wemo, which controls the lights in our house. The lights turn on and off at certain times, and it connects with the Alexa machine. But what I'm really kind of getting more clear about is that on my computer, I have a keyboard, but there are many ways that you can get information into a computer. And your voice is one of those ways. And so Amazon is kind of the voice device that gets your information into a computer, and then some other computer gives you information. That's really all it is. It's just an input-output kind of device. Is that right?
Yeah, you bet. And it can be integrated with a lot of different things too. I mean, you can integrate the Alexa platform with your existing like fans and switches, and like as your own developer if you wanted to. That's the kind of flexibility that it has.
Okay. So let's go back to the business side of this. How do businesses use this kind of stuff, which could be used just as just for fun at your house? But how do businesses use it to start making money?
Good. So it's not, this answer is going to be the same for everybody because everyone's going to have like a different approach to how they make money. So maybe I can go through like the most common use cases.
Yeah, let's go through a couple of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the easiest way to get on the platform with the least amount of time, headache, and energy, just to say, hey, I have an Alexa skill, is by creating a flash briefing skill. And all that is, a flash briefing skill, is that's kind of a news feed that Alexa will play whenever you want that to play. So you could say, Alexa, start my flash briefing, it'll play, or you could have it timed into the device. So every day at 5 a.m., the flash briefing plays. Right. So as a brand, a brand could even have multiple flash briefings, but let's say just pick one. And the easiest way to use what you already have, if you have a podcast, is each podcast has an RSS feed. Right. And so all Alexa needs, the back end of Alexa needs, is the podcast RSS feed. And then you fill out the rest of the information with the logo. And now, you make sure that it's optimized for SEO. And then you submit it to the skill store for certification.
So really, the rules of engagement are the same. I still have to promote the podcast or whatever the activity is that I want the people to do, because somebody has to tell these people that they're supposed to ask Alexa to do this certain thing.
Well, so this is so good. So the book that you have for Stop Hustling Gigs that's sitting right next to you,
Yeah,
like you spent a lot of time writing that book, right?
sure,
And you
sure.
spent a lot of time promoting that book, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know if what the rule is that you hear at NSA, but 50% of the work is writing the book. The other 50% of the book is selling the book. So I think where sometimes we might say, "Oh, we're not getting the return that we anticipated." Well, maybe we should look at in terms of how we promoted it to make sure that we are letting people know, and the metrics don't lie, right? Like just like a website has Google Analytics, we have voice analytics that tell you how many times a session has been used, how many times a particular user has activated a session, what are some of the errors in the language that created um, I created an error message so Alexa wasn't able to kind of help in that particular moment. There's a lot of analytics in the background that you can go back and measure to say this is working, this is what we need to fix.
All right. Okay. Listen, there's a lot of things that were not clear. They're becoming a little more clear. I may need to have a follow-up conversation on this, but give us a couple of the business use cases. How do businesses start to take advantage of this? If they want to start to promote certain kinds of things and have people talk to Alexa about providing these kinds of skills or routines, how do they do it?
Yeah, good. So, really comes down to selling what you already have or creating something new. And so if you wanted to sell what you already have, there's two different methods. One is something that's like product service based, where you just integrate Amazon Alexa and Amazon Pay as your e-commerce platform inside of Alexa. And with those two work together and talk nice together, and like you have a billing agreement, just like you have a billing agreement with your e-shopping cart, you can process transactions with the user talking to the Alexa device, just like they're shopping online, right? And you can order an Uber through, Alexa. You can order coffee through Alexa. Like you can do a lot with.
Does Uber connect to it?
I'm sorry.
So could I order an Uber right through it by voice?
You have to activate the skill and fill out the customer profile information. And so one of the things that's kind of like standard across different Alexa skills is user permissions, right? Like I have to give you the skill provider permission to use my first name, last name, my mobile telephone number, my credit card information, give you permission to send me push Alexa device push notifications. So the circle turns yellow instead of blue. You have to, so like we have to credit card storing credit card information is another permission that's out there. So the business case, it's like, how can we market to these different channels and sell the e-commerce that we already have set up. Another way that businesses can make money is, at least in the space that we're in with information, is you can sell access to content very much like a learning management system, right? And so when we look at creating content for education or for training delivery, what we can think about is how can we repurpose our content in a way that moves people towards an outcome, or they give them assignments. And so inside of Alexa, you have a deal where it's called in-skill purchasing, which unlocks features, which would be your e-commerce platform. Or I'm sorry, not your e-commerce, but your learning management system content. And so, like, we're still at the early stages of this, and it's just going to be exciting to see kind of where this next stage goes. But like, if you are in the information marketing business, it's a great opportunity to be one of the first in, and just really repurpose what you already have, but put it in a conversational format.
Listen, if there's been one giant takeaway from this discussion, I'm understanding that this is highly parallel to the evolution of the computer, the evolution of the phone, the evolution of software.
Yeah.
Because you have apps, you have in-skill purchases, or these in-app purchases. I mean, everything is parallel. So a lot of the confusion that I had is going to start to evaporate, because all I have to do is just remember that it's just it's on the same path as things that I've already lived through. And if the listeners just kind of catch on to that one big point, then this was a marvelous interview.
Yeah, no, awesome. So when we think about in the marketing side, if you've ever created a customer journey map, right, and you have different stages of where a customer would interact with your business, you have, like I said before, you have face-to-face, you have web-based, you have email, you have social media. Well, Alexa is another one of those channels that have to be added to the customer journey map. Now, heaven forbid we ever run a situation where we have 100 of these different platforms.
Well, that's kind of the problem. In the old days, when you were a baby and I was, doing what I was doing, you used to have two choices. You'd either call somebody on the phone or a letter. Those are your two choices. Now you've got 100 choices, and you have to say, how would you like me to communicate with you? Well, I like WhatsApp, FaceTime. I like this. I like this. I don't like email. I don't like links. I don't like.
Don't mess it up. Don't mess it up.
The 70s was a very simple time, but not so much anymore. So anyway, hey, listen, man, this has been a really cool interview. And I'll tell you what, anybody who wants to get onto the leading edge of this industry, listen, we're all about the inside track. Profit from the inside is really strategies to give people the inside track. And you bring the inside track on all this voice stuff. So I would tell people that if they really want to do this, if they need to do any development or whatever, they really do need some counsel and guidance. I know you do seminars on this topic. I know that you're out there a lot. So we will publish your information in the show notes. But you really have opened our eyes to something that we need more intel about.
Well, cool. Thank you, Joel. I tell you, anybody who wants to get started in this fast, there's a voice marketing for business Facebook group that you can join. So just find that, or we'll include that on the link, and definitely hop on that conversation where you can ask questions. And then also Joel mentioned that I do a full day program where you walk away developing your own skill before you even leave. In fact, we had somebody who made 3 of them in the first hour. It's we've never had a program where we've actually done anything. And so it's a growing community. It's very exciting to be a part of it. And I want to thank you, Joel, for allowing me to share some of these ideas with you.
Well, hey, listen, if you had some guy come to your seminar and produce 3 skills in an hour, I would say he's a potential competitor.
You never know, man. You never. But here's the value is teaching people how to fish, right? Not create dependency relationships, because there will always be something else to work on, right? And so voice being one of them, it's not the only thing. So,
let me just wrap up by saying this. I would like to learn how to fish, but I might still prefer to pay you to fish.
There you go.
Just because you learn how to do something doesn't mean you learn how to do it very well. Yeah. And the truth is, the world's very complicated. This is clearly complicated. And Doug, you are the man when it comes to voice implementation and so forth. So thanks very much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Profit from the Inside with Joel Block. For more insights and to learn more, visit joelblock.com.
How about a shout out and a giant thanks to my podcast producer, David Wolf, and his team at Podcast and Radio Networks. Profit from the Inside simply wouldn't be what it is without David and his team. For more information or to learn how you can launch and produce your own podcast, reach out to podcastandradio.com.
Get the inside track on 20 top business trends for 2020 from Joel Block. Joel's insights bring Wall Street to your street so you can profit from the inside in 2020. Just text the word TREND to 72000. That's 72000 and download your free copy today. Grab your phone and get the inside track on business trends that affect you and your business. Just text the word TREND to 72000 for your copy now.